The main segment I did today over at youtube.com/timcast was talking about how the left is trapped in a paranoid delusional state. And we have a nice little tidbit here to show that's the case. This is great. Check this out. From the Daily Caller. Focus group finds average Americans don't even know or care what impeachment is about. My word. What do they care about? Kitchen table issues, solving their problems. Why do they care about the political bickering in Washington? Could you imagine if you hired someone to work in your house and all they did was complain about the job nonstop? You'd be like, dude, I don't care about your complaints. I don't care that the guy mopping the floor and the guy washing the dishes are arguing about who's supposed to be doing what. Imagine this. You hire some people to clean your house. They come in and they're working and you're like, great, I got problems. Dirty dishes, messy floor, dog hair everywhere. And then all of a sudden you hear fighting. And you're like, I don't know what they're fighting about. And you go in and one guy's like, he shouldn't be in charge of washing the dishes. Why? I didn't do anything. And you're just like, enough. That's where we're at. Americans don't care. Here's the best part. You're going to love this. Here's a story from The Hill, an opinion piece. Impeachment hearings likely to get worse for Republicans. The Hill's really great. This is an opinion piece by Albert Hunt. But there's like another story from NBC where it's talking about Trump, all three branches of government are falling apart or whatever. And it's like, dude, you live in a paranoid, delusional state. You are frantically waving your arms about things nobody cares about. Let's read this story. Daily Caller reports, key independent voters are uninterested in the details of the impeachment inquiry against President Donald Trump, according to focus groups conducted by America First Policies, AFP. Now, here's the funny thing. Apparently, Democrats were calling it quid pro quo. And this might not be true because I saw some murmurs. I don't have the source pulled up. But apparently they did a focus group. And the focus group thought bribery sounded worse. So all of a sudden the Democrats changed what they were saying. It is all marketing. Let's read. AFP held 18 focus groups over the past 2 months in Charlotte, Columbus, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Des Moines, Orlando, Phoenix, Miami, with self-identified independent voters on the 2020 election and impeachment. The voters did not know they would be talking about politics when they were selected for the focus group, a source close to AFP explained. The voters did not mention Ukraine, an alleged quid pro quo, Rudy Giuliani, or any other key details about the House Democrats' impeachment inquiry, according to videos of the focus group reviewed by the Daily Caller. Instead, the focus groups expressed concerns about the largely closed-door process and the fact that the inquiry is a distraction from other issues that they care about. Quote, I don't think the majority of the country cares. They want the problem solved, one focus group member said. While another questioned, why the focus on impeachment when you can vote Trump out next year? Yes, that's exactly the point. It's because they can't vote Trump out. They want to subvert the system, the electoral process, because they know Trump is going to win. That's what's scary. Think about it this way. We have an electoral college, which means it's not majority rule. Right now, Trump was put in place not by the majority of Americans, but by the electoral college by a wide margin. This is a protective system meant to prevent majority rule because a direct democracy just ends up with the masses choosing the lowest common denominator issues. Now, that's still true. It's not a perfect system. But here we have it. The Democrats, even with the majority of the population, even knowing the rules and playing the same game as Trump, couldn't win. What's scary? They still can't win. They're trapped in a paranoid state. They are delusional. Barack Obama's coming out saying, you are going too far left. Stop. The woke's, it's got to stop. Bill Maher saying, guys, stop. When you think Bill Maher and Barack Obama have become Republicans, you've lost the plot. And regular Americans, they're not here with you. Here's the thing. These Democratic 2020 candidates, that's who I'm really speaking to. Because the regular independent Americans are like, I don't care about this. Just vote him out. Well, there it is. Us politicos know Trump won't be voted out. I mean, it's possible. It is. But I mean, you look at this. I'm sure the Democrats are looking at the same data the rest of us are, knowing Trump could sit on his hands and probably win because everything's going really well right now. It's like he could coast all the way to victory. Moody's Analytics, most accurate, they're saying it. The Democrats know their only option is to remove him because they will not win. Keeping in mind, don't rest on your, don't rest on your laurels. Trump could still lose. Okay. I think it's silly. A lot of Trump supporters might fall into that same trap as Hillary Clinton, where everyone was so convinced she was win, they just sat in their hands. Let's read. The more they try, the more they fail. It's a waste of funds, one individual said. These people speak to me because I'm in like the same place. I'm like an independent, in every capacity, slightly leaning to the left, but very independent, So I hear this and I'm like, yes, this is what regular people think. I recognize, here's what I do. I try to have as many, my foot in different bubbles. I try to step in, see what people are thinking on the left, on the right, in the center, people who aren't politically active, to see what's going on. And I'm telling you, this is it. And now we have the focus groups to say so. Several focus group members compared the current impeachment inquiry to the Russian collusion narrative, pointing out there was no smoking gun in the entirety of the Mueller probe and accused Democrats of using the process to further divide the country. Others said Democrats are not going about the inquiry the right way, asserting that the sneaky process proves they don't have anything. That's right. One dude who testified, and some leaks came out about his testimony, shows that he was not concerned at all about Trump having done anything illegal. He's like, no, it never crossed my mind. I thought the call was fine. But the Democrats leak selective information. That's the problem with the closed-door process. The focus on the process suggests that Republican talking points are reaching independent voters. House GOP members repeatedly hammered the fact that the first round of hearings were conducted behind closed doors, in a SCIF, and without representation on behalf of the president or the White House. We want to know what they're talking about, period. One voter is in a focus group declared. If they're talking about removing Trump, we want to know what they're talking about. Here, I agree. We're talking about removing the president. You better explain to us exactly why and what's going on. In my opinion, while I understand the closed-door proceedings, I do not believe they have justified their reason for having them. They have the closed-door meetings, they leak information, the press goes wild, and then they have them testify publicly. What's the point of any of it? It's a waste of time. It's a PR strategy. If they're going to talk about removing the president, we have a right to know. Everybody. The focus group responses bolster Democratic concerns that the details of the impeachment inquiry are too convoluted for the non-DC crowd to follow along. Democrats have quickly shifted their rhetoric surrounding impeachment, abandoning allegations of a quid pro quo and instead using the word bribery, which is insane because there is quid pro quo. Somebody said it, everyone followed suit, but there is nothing. No, there's no bribery. What bribery? Seriously, what bribe? A bribe is when you hand someone cash in exchange for something. The military aid was already going to Ukraine. Trump held it up. That's the opposite of bribery. That's saying, I'm not going to give you money. Now you can call it extortion, saying, oh, that money you were supposed to get? That I understand. The problem is Ukrainians didn't even know about it. I did a conversation with Sam Cedar and he says, the frame of mind of the victim is irrelevant. Now, I'm sorry, dude. I listened to what you had to say. I can respect you coming on, but let's be real. Extortion does require the other person to know that something bad might happen. And it wasn't there. No smoking gun, just more nonsense. They say, which they believe it resonates more with middle America. A source close to AFP agreed, closed. Unless you're living in DC, you can't keep up with the show. People find impeachment to be too much, too confusing. They brought up Russia, but no one mentions Ukraine. The individual familiar with the focus group said, there's frustration that they're not getting anything done. Yes. Let me go back to that analogy in the beginning because I love it. You hire a couple guys to build a shed in your backyard. And instead of building the shed on your dime, they're arguing about why the foreman's in charge. And you're like, dude, I am paying you to be here. Because keep in mind, you as Americans are paying the salaries of these people. You hired them, and that's what they're doing. Think about it. You're in your backyard watching these 3 construction workers, and they're fighting instead of doing any work. And you get up and you say, please start building the shed. And they say, no, the foreman must be removed because his plans are bad plans. And then it turns out his plans, while unconventional, actually seem to be working pretty well. And now you're confused. I don't get it. Now, look, I understand some of what he's doing is kind of weird and maybe inappropriate. Maybe he said bad things, lewd things. But please just build this. Because once you're done, you can move on. You don't got to work with the guy. And we can hire somebody else. But for the time being, you're in the yard. Build the shed. What people don't seem to understand, especially when it comes to this, You need to remember, these politicians are being paid by you. That's right. You're paying them to sit around complaining about Orange Man. And I know a lot of people get it, but for me, it's the most frustrating thing. If you're going to hire someone for a job, do the job. These people, predominantly the moderates, the moderate Democrats who are not supportive, were not hired because they said, we're going to depose, we're going to remove the Orange Man. They were hired because they said they were going to bridge the divide. They were going to do right by the American people and solve problems and bring up kitchen table issues. Instead, once again, all that's happening, all of the press, is around whether or not the Orange Man is bad enough to be removed from office. I hear there's the USMC got a great trade deal, apparently, they could be voting on. No? The more important question is whether or not the Orange Man should be president. Well, guess what? Donald Trump is working. He's like the one guy who was elected to do his job, and the economy's going great. So think about it this way. You hire 3 people to build a shed. The guy in charge is working away. He's saying nasty things, and you don't like him, and he smells bad. Don't put it that way. The other 2 guys are complaining nonstop, not doing any work. Okay? Who are you going to remove? Listen, man, I understand Trump may have all of these bad things about him, and I lean away from a lot of his policies. But he's the president. He's the guy running the show right now, and he's being paid by the American people. Actually, he's foregoing his salary, my understanding, but he's doing the job. He's like, let me do the job. Okay, fine, man. I didn't pick him to be in charge, but that's fine. Do the job. Who are these Democrats to sit around on our tax dollars doing nothing when even other independents reckon, okay, I'm going to stop. You get the point. What are they doing? I do not want politicians whose sole job is to just maintain power. And that's why I do like a lot of the more progressives, because at least they actually have ideals. People like Pelosi, Schumer, and yes, McConnell and others. They're just they flip-flop back and forth. They're career politicians. Are we just paying them to sit around and they're tricking us into paying them more? Whatever, man. I'll leave it there. Stick around. I got a couple more segments coming up in a few minutes, and I will see you all shortly.